Webinar is now streaming on Facebook.
Okay, so we are now live on Facebook. We're just waiting. There we go. Welcome, welcome, everyone.
And I am welcoming you as well.
Welcome to Can We Chat here. My name is Sheila Abram, and I am joined by my wonderful, fantastic co-host, Miss Maxine Jones.
Good evening, Facebook. We are ready to chat with you.
Miss Maxine Jones has been nicknamed the Lady of Grace, Gold, and Glamour.
Thank you. One of my mentors and loving Dr. Patrice Gordon. So thank you, Dr. Patrice.
What I'm doing is there we go. I'm looking for the stream myself on my phone because we do actually keep monitoring the chat bar. I want to say welcome, Mr. Rodney Berger. Welcome, welcome. Miss Esther Scott, Miss Sharon Vicks. We have Ronald Hoot. Patricia Cherry is watching. I'm so happy we moved it back, Miss Patricia.
Yes.
Right. Make sure you're here.
For mine to come up. Okay.
Is yours up yet, Miss Maxine? Miss Maxine Jones is going to be sharing into her stream. This way, her friends and her families and her prospective business partners can see this Can We Chat in her own live stream. Right. Welcome, Miss Maria Johnson.
Okay.
Miss Sharon King. Okay, there we go. So,
all right.
Today's topic, we decided, and we talked about this because we try to talk about things that are relevant.
Real life.
Yeah, real life stories. And this week's topic is the modern day inheritance. Or I want to say the lack of a modern day inheritance. Now, we did get some stories. Good evening, Catherine Huff, Brenda Mudd. We did get some stories.
Yes, we did.
And I want to first talk about my quick inheritance story. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather was an entrepreneur right off the bat. Perhaps that's where I kind of got my start growing up under that. He owned his own gardening and painting service. My grandparents bought their home before I was born, so it had to be probably 1953, 1955, somewhere in there. They bought their home. The mortgage was $32,000, which back then was a lot. But the 19, but that was the mortgage on his home. They were proud of their home. He was in that home for more than 60 years. Anyway, that's a long story. I had to take him out the home. But what happened was, over the years, he had actually paid the mortgage off, owned his home free and clear. But then in the 70s, came along, and even the 80s, listen, go on and get a mortgage, take out a loan against your property. Is there a vacation you want to go on? You want to travel? What you want to do? You want to upgrade the house? So they decided, you know what, let's do some traveling. They took us on quite a few we lived in the era where family vacation was like a month long. I mean, we were out of school in the summertime. Our family vacations, we were gone, just traveling, getting in planes, going to Jamaica. We had a ball.
Living your life like it's golden.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know it was because they took a loan against the house to do it, So anyway, down the road, he would pay back those mortgages as much as he could. And even in the, I would say, late 90s, he had gotten that loan paid almost off, all the way back down into about 32,000, maybe 45,000. That's all he owed on it. Well, the invention of reverse mortgage came along.
Oh boy.
He had some salesman came to the door talking about, have you heard about reverse mortgage? Now, honestly, he had no problem paying the note on that small amount left on his mortgage. But he was also sold the dream again. See, dreams are so important.
They target seniors.
When you sell someone a dream,
Mm-hmm.
And this is the dream that was sold to him. Couldn't you use a new air conditioner up on the house? See, they kind of look at the condition of the homes. And by this time, he's like, wouldn't you like to change out this carpet? Maybe do some remodeling?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there some family members you want to help right now? Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Isn't there some family members that you could take out some money on this home and help right now? And my grandfather got to thinking, yes, there is. And there's some things I could do. Needless to say, he was talked into a $278,000 reverse mortgage.
At that age, not good.
Well, flash forward 2012, I had to get involved with his finances and deal with his money situation. Now, see, the beautiful thing, and this is the dream they sell seniors, you don't have to pay a reverse mortgage back. And you can live in your home until you die. You can live here mortgage free until you die. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you the caveat to that. Sometimes seniors cannot stay in the home until they die due to certain health situations. See, he had some mental health issues. He was a vet, World War II. He also got to the point where he was falling all the times, as seniors do. He's 95 right now. Mm-hmm. There was a point where, and I had video cameras all in his house because I live 3 hours away from him. I had 2 shifts of caregivers going into care for him. I had live webcams up just to see if, and I could hear with these cameras. I could hear him, but he couldn't hear me. And he was falling so much, 7 times in 1 month. So I had to take him out of the house and put him in an assisted living. Well, when the senior leaves the house and they are not going to return, now is when you find out who really owns the reverse mortgage. Now, they are nice enough. But see, what was so interesting is he took the loan for $278,000. They tacked on what was owed from the other loan. It was well over $340-something thousand when I saw it.
Wow.
Now, the neighborhood had declined. Mm-hmm. So now it's upside down.
Yeah.
And they were so happy saying, well, listen, is there anyone in the family that wants to assume this loan? We'll be happy to let a family member step up and take the loan.
Who in their right mind?
Who's going to take an upside down loan? Mm-hmm. So we all know what happened. Yeah. Unfortunately, my grandfather's home that had once been paid off, once almost paid off, was foreclosed on.
Foreclosed. Yeah.
His pride and joy was foreclosed on. So, see, at one point when there could have been an inheritance to the family, now was not an inheritance to the family. So that's my inheritance story. And Miss Maxine Jones, what's your story?
I have one. It's kind of similar to you, but first I want to start with what happened with my dad. My dad was a 30-year Navy careerman. He was in the Navy for 30 years. And I always thought my dad had insurance. Well, evidently he did not. So in 1986, he died of prostate cancer. And I was the executor for all of his affairs. And he actually had a home as well. And I realized that he did not have insurance. So now that was put on me. Here I am, I'm a widow with 2 children. I had my own bills, my own responsibility. And now here's my father that I have to do his funeral. So I'm talking to the funeral agency. And this is back in 1986. And they're telling me, listen, we could get you a really good deal. How they said, send your father off really nice. And they quoted me about $6,000. And there was no way in the world that I could pay $6,000. Yeah. There's no way. So I pushed back real hard. And I told them, there's nowhere I could go with that. So finally we came to an agreement of $3,000, which still was an awful stretch for me. Mm-hmm. And that's what was decided on. So, dad got a decent funeral for $3,000. But all this time, I'm thinking that he had, insurance in place. And that happens to so many people. It's an assumption, but they don't know. But unlike my dad, I do, for myself and my family, I do have insurance. But even better than that, being a part of Wealth Builders Worldwide and Carapace International and Saving Gold, I actually have a legacy for my children. And the thing with Carapace, it's a part of your inheritance that is transferable. So that will be divided among my children and grandchildren. And that is the answer, really, to the expense of funerals today. Actually, is a gold savings account.
I did some research on that, and I'm gonna talk about those numbers. But Ms. Maxine Jones, you hit the nail on the head. You said you always assumed that he had a life insurance policy.
Absolutely. I mean, 30 years in the military, come on.
Even a burial policy. Yeah. But what happens, and this almost ties into the same topic of last week, was seniors.
Oh, yeah.
The retirement expenses happen. Even as they quit their job, the life insurance they had with the job is gone.
That's what happens.
Now they're in their 70s and 60s, and they will qualify for a whopping $1,000 premium.
The premium is going to be very costly, especially if you have an existing condition, which most seniors do have.
Exactly.
So, and every few years, like with myself, every 5 years, that premium goes up higher and higher and higher.
So they end up having to sacrifice. They do. They end up just not being able to pay that life insurance policy. A lot of people do have them or did have them, but they just, through circumstances, changing jobs, retiring, they had to give that up.
Yeah.
So now, before we go into the next phase of our conversation, let's talk a little bit. Let's share some stories. If you have a story of inheritance, please share it in the chat bar. You can go ahead and share it. While Miss Maxine Jones is going to be sharing some stories that were submitted on the website, I'm going to be monitoring the chat box, and I will share your stories if you had some and you want to go ahead and share. This is interactive, so feel free. I know it's hard to kind of type a story real quick, but so if you have time, wonderful. Otherwise, we do have some that were submitted. So I'll let you go ahead and go first, Miss.
Okay. Well, these were submitted. Of course, they're anonymous because some of them are going through legalities and that type of thing. And also some of them do not want their families to know that they have inherited something. So,
I have one, Some people don't want their brother, their siblings.
No, they don't.
They were the favorite.
They don't want to know. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is from a woman who remains anonymous, of course. She is a waitress who inherited a fortune from a customer, a gentleman who went daily to the restaurant where she worked for his meals and for just some company. And she was always nice to him and chatted with him daily about life's problems. And this was a total surprise to her. It was totally unexpected that this man left her this type of money. But now she's dealing with his relatives. So that can be pretty difficult as far as acquiring what he's left for her, because of course the relatives want the money. Here's another one. This young lady inherited jewelry from a relative, but it's taking quite some time to acquire the jewelry because of red tape, taxes, and legal issues, and of not having a specified will. You need to have a specified will. This is a good one. Young man is part of a group. This is about his siblings. So this person is part of a group of siblings who feels that he did not get his fair share because the money was divided evenly between the siblings, even though one of them, which he felt, was not there for the duration and the hardship of their parents' illness, that he was out doing his thing. So because it was divided evenly, this particular sibling felt that it wasn't fair. So there's a lot of bitterness there. And here's another one. This will be my last one. I'll let you turn it over to you, Sheila. This is kind of cute. Here's one. My aunt left all her money, which she put, it's a handsome sum, to the church. Wow. Try fighting with that one.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. Now, I have two of them that I want to talk about. One of them was told to me in person. You know, I happened to mention that I was going to be going home and doing a live stream later today. And I was telling him the topic was at my Smart and Final. Anyway, I was picking up some groceries and it was on modern day inheritance. And I was telling him how pretty much inheritance have become extinct. And Maxine, can you monitor the chat to see if there's any stories that we need to tell when I'm done?
Absolutely.
That getting an inheritance is pretty much extinct these days. And he told me, he goes, I inherited from my great grandfather. Now he had to be, I would say, in his late 20s, the age in between my two sets of children, you know, younger than my middle son. And I said, well, what did you inherit? And he pointed to it. He was wearing it. It was this gold crucifix that was around his neck. He said, my great grandfather was given this by his parents on his first communion. And he said, it is 24 karat gold. He says, it's been in our family for generations. And he was telling me how it went to his grandfather, then it went to his father. He says, and now I have it. He says, this is the most cherished possession that I have. And he was telling me, and one day I'm going to pass it down to the next generation. So he had a story of inheritance. And then I read, let's see. There was one. She didn't want her name. She just put her initials, SS. She states that her husband and her inherited their parents' house when their parents passed away. And she says, you know, over the years, the house was free and clear. All they had to pay were the property taxes. But over the years, with layoffs and things, they needed money. So they began taking loans against the property. And she was telling me that now that they look at it, some of those loans were unnecessary because you could refinance and go up and up and up. And she says, do you know, this house will not stay in the family. My husband and I don't have a chance of paying it off. And we won't be able to leave the house to the next generation. She said, it's sad because we will not be able to leave our house to the next generation unless her children, you know, they can afford to pay for the loan. So that's the, you know, we were saying the story of inheritance is almost but extinct, but there's hope.
What's so?
See, there's hope because all of us, most of us on this live stream, and if you're not in Carrot Bars, if you're not saving in gold, then this is brand new to you. We want you to know the inheritance is not gone because you can leave gold to your children and your grandchildren. And then
that is the legacy that you can leave.
The modern day practice now, unfortunately, for funerals, and you touched on this, Maxine, with your story. Loved ones die. They don't have any burial insurance. They don't have any life insurance. What families are doing nowadays, this is the common practice. They open up a crowdfunding account, GoFundMe. There's a number of different crowdfunding accounts, and they're asking for everybody to help pay for this funeral. Some of the, you know, but some of those platforms, when you set a goal, you don't hit that goal. Some of the platforms, the money goes back to the people that pledged it.
That's interesting.
So then I did some research. I did a Google search, And what's the average amount of money that is raised on a, GoFundMe like platform for a funeral? And it came up with the average that's actually commonly collected is anywhere from $3,000 to just under $5,000. So they are getting that much on GoFundMe, but or not just for GoFundMe. It says a crowdfunding account, so not
any type of.
And now some of them are way more. See, depending on the influence, the circle of influence the people have, some of them are a lot more. But that's true. Average, they said the average. Then I did some research. What is the average funeral cost in North America? Okay. It says the average on the low end is $7,000, and the medium present day, and the medium is $10,000. That's the average. So see, even if you're depending on using some type of crowdfunding, it will measure. You're still missing the mark to a traditional insurance. I mean, what's happening is, different people have different wishes on how they choose to be buried. Some want to be cremated, some want to be buried. Yeah, some want a mausoleum, But depending on how much the family can raise, that limits what you want. Your options, it does. So there's a solution. If you just save 6 ounces of gold. We always have a solution. We have a solution. If you just save 6 ounces of gold, you get to have an average funeral. Now, if you want above average, go for 10 ounces of gold. See, there is no physical involved whatsoever. Right. There is no qualifying. There is no credits. Your challenge for pre-existing conditions. Nothing. They can come to your house and take your blood pressure and all that type of stuff. Gold is the solution. Now I'm going to tell you just a quick story about my mother. My mother paid for her final arrangements. Oh my goodness, probably been paid for 20 years now. She picked the plot. It's done. She picked where the services, all of that is done in the chapel. Everything was said and done. Well, last year she went to a funeral of a friend of hers because now she's at the age where her friends are dying off. So a friend of hers passed away. Actually, it was a friend of her sister. It was their sister that passed away. She went to the funeral and they were telling the story of, isn't your burial plot in whatever the name of that mortuary was? And my mother said, yeah, but it's all paid for, no problem. She said, so was my sister-in-law's. But you do know they changed hands 5 years ago. And when my sister-in-law passed, we contacted them. They didn't have any of the paperwork. Wow. They're a different company. Yes, they were supposed to have assumed the debts of the former company, but at this point, they're scrambling. They needed to get her buried. And she says, this was the wrong time for this to happen. So the family ended up just coming out of a lot of money when this was something that was already paid for. So what it does is it got my mother to thinking, well, wait a minute, I better check on mine. And when she did, she found, first, of course, they didn't have her paper, didn't know who she was. Oh, God. So she brought her original contract in. My mother's very astute. She brought her contract in. She's like, this is the plot I paid for. I want to see it. And then they're scrambling and they're saying, well, trying to talk to her, ma'am, how are you? What'd you eat for breakfast? They were trying to see if she was senile. They asked certain questions to see if you're cognitive. Yeah, she was like, none of your business what I had for breakfast. Tell me my plot. My plot. Just show me my plot. So then the guy went out into the office and he came back and he goes, we just took over this place 5 years ago and the other company didn't keep good records. So I really can't show you the plot because somebody else is buried in it. Oh, gosh. what she had already paid for. Because see, that's really like real estate. You're buying these plots.
Yes, you are. That's true. Yeah.
Somebody else was already buried in it.
Oh.
And she says, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I specifically chose that. So now they were saying, well, we've got a piece of undeveloped land. And here's a map. They showed her a map. You know, you can pick 3B.
Oh.
She looked at him. She says, a piece of, my mother, she's hysterical. She's like, a piece of undeveloped land. So in other words, you're trying to sell me some sand from a desert. You're showing me a map that's not even out there yet, not even developed yet. And I could die tomorrow, unfortunately. So she's like, no, you know what? I'm have to go to report you to the news.
To the news, or
she's like, and she started spouting off the places she was getting ready to report them to. And they're like, wait a minute, hold on. Mm-hmm. Let us give us an opportunity to make this right.
I bet.
And so she goes, okay, I'll give you the opportunity to make it right, but my daughter's going to be involved. My daughter's going to be on the phone with me while we all make this right. So I watched.
I know you made it right.
Yeah, well, listen, I watched her change the whole paperwork to now she's being in a tomb. She decided she wanted to be inside the
in the mausoleum.
In the mausoleum. Mausoleum. Great spot by the elevator. People don't have to walk. She got to take a trip. No, they truly made that right, because she told them, if you don't make it right.
Yeah. No, it was their duty to do that, Sheila.
Yeah, she's like, this is my land. Mm-hmm. Dig up the person in it. You know, she's like, dig up the person in it and call their family. Mm-hmm. And they did not want to do that, because then that would open up a huge can of worms on their selling. Anyway, so you think things are done, and lesson to everybody: if you have something prepaid, go check it. If it's been years, go check it, because if and when it happens, if my mother and I have the contract here, you know, I have everything, I wouldn't have known. I would be trying to make arrangements at that point in time, and they would have said, that was the old company. We don't even know who she is. It would have been a nightmare, and I just would have come out of pocket and paid for it.
And the thing too, Sheila, that unfortunately with funeral parlors and funeral homes, they realize that you're emotional. Mm-hmm. So you're upset, and they prey on that. You know, you think they don't? Yes, they do. Yeah. They prey on the fact that, I mean, even with my dad's funeral, you know, showing you all these beautiful caskets, and you know, he's just going to look so wonderful, and then even flowers costing $350 that are going to die within, you know, two days or whatever. So they prey on those emotions that, you know, you're just going to be so susceptible, because you're hurting, and you want to still do right by your dad, mama, whomever. So, you know, the answer is gold. Gold is the answer for rising funeral costs. Bottom line, it is. You wouldn't think so, but it actually is.
So, what we
want here. Did you see this one here?
I missed one. What is it?
In the chat. My father worked himself to death 3 straight overtime, tried to refinance his home, and declared bankruptcy with hopes of the property values in his neighborhood increasing. And then my sister almost decided to take on paying the house debt off and receiving the life insurance payout. But his brother took it on. Luckily, I was instructed not to get involved by my mother. So that's a whole thing with family and siblings, and, you know, all the stuff that goes on when someone passes, and there's no specific set instructions as far as the will.
And we have another one that says, my father died at age 72. He had no insurance. He left us with nothing but debt and a mortgage. It was disappointing. He was planning to plan a month after he died. So I guess he was planning to plan for his funeral, but died before that can happen. And that is Oh, and then we've got another one.
But the 100-year-old, my dad was
Yeah.
100, but
Yes.
my sister was in tune to a certain extent, and makes you reassess your situation. We need to be instructed properly, and we're not. We're not instructed properly at all about death, funeral, money, finances, none of that. But we are going to learn.
And I tell you, even my son, London, is on this stream, and he typed in really quickly his story. His father passed away very young, actually, at 52, I think it was. And his father's house was already going to be, it was in foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And some of the family wanted him, save this house. You know, it's your dad's legacy, and it's your house. I mean, and it's his house, because allegedly there's going to be some huge redevelopment in the future, 8 to 10 years. It was going to make the property worth so much more. Still hasn't happened, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to seriously have a talk with him and say, for one, that's Washington, D.C. We live in California.
Yeah.
We live in California. You are not going to be able to rent that house out, because my son actually has income property. So I'm looking at it business-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, realistically, I'm going to tell you, family's going to want to live in there. And that's when things get sticky. When you are young, you know, you're a baby of a bunch in a family. You don't even live in the same state. How are you going to get your money?
Yeah.
How are you going to get your money? No.
Here's a good one. Mr. Rodney Berger. My father died suddenly at 72 years old. He had no insurance. He left us nothing but debt and a mortgage. It was disappointing. He was planning to plan a month after he died.
Yeah.
72.
So anyway, what this is all about is an eye-opening situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those of us, especially now that you know 6 ounces will do it. See, mm-hmm. Those of us that are already in Carrot bars, most of us have more than 6 ounces, because a lot of us are saving on a weekly and monthly basis, and have been. We're mm-hmm. paying ourselves first in gold.
Absolutely.
We know, for one, we're not leaving that legacy, that debt legacy, to our family. We're able, even our seniors, our beloved seniors that have gold, that your funeral can be taken care of. Your inheritance, you're going to have something to leave to the next generation. But the important thing is really stop to look at, how much do I want to leave? Because Maxine, what that might mean is we need to up our gold acquisition.
Yes. Michelle Ann Goldberg, remember she shared last week? She actually got rid of the insurance policy, high premiums, and up the gold that she was saving, and that's covering all of her grandchildren, leaving an awesome legacy for them, you know, without all those high premiums. Because you think about it, you're paying these high premiums every single month. You could be saving in gold.
Yes.
And that will cover everything.
You could be saving in gold. Mm-hmm. And here's another beautiful thing. Also think ahead. Have it written out in a will. How do you want your gold divided? Don't let your family fight over that. Don't.
Because they will.
Yeah, because honestly, they may not save it for themselves right now, but let you die. They want all your gold. I mean, you know, they want it all, you know.
All those people who ask you, what about that gold thing you're doing? They're going to come looking for your gold.
They're going to come looking for your gold. So make sure you have it spelled out legally. It's going to be divided in this manner.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, though, we're leaving a legacy. And that's good. We're leaving a legacy, and we're not.
That feels really good. It does.
So
anyway, we're not leaving debt. We're not leaving stress. We're leaving gold.
Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your stories.
Yes.
Thank you, those that submitted them online and you wanted to remain anonymous. We completely understand.
Yeah.
You know, we're happy to be able to share your stories.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy. That's what Can We Chat is all about.
Yeah.
Is stories can inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
See, actually, hopefully by me telling my mother's story today, those of you who have parents who prepaid, double check, because they prepaid 30 and 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Check on those policies, get actual copies of them in your files so that you don't have to look for them. I have my mother's policy, a faxed copy right here in my file.
And absolutely, in your situation, Sheila, be aware if a company changes hands, you get down there, you make sure that everything is still status quo as far as where you're concerned.
And
because if it's a company and they say, oh, we don't know you, have your papers. Have your papers.
My grandfather's already prepaid his, but he's a vet. So the VA is going to take care of it. But
they will.
He's already prepaid the arrangements for everything. And then it's to be turned over to the VA. I double checked that. Everything is in order. I have peace of mind there. So we just really wanted to touch on the modern day inheritance this week and the lack of the modern day inheritance. But with Karatbars, we're bringing inheritance back. Now, Miss Maxine Jones, I'm going to give you the privilege of announcing next week's topic.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. We both had this epiphany at the same time this weekend, and we are going to be interviewing the dream maker, Mr. Tyrone Best. So you guys put your seatbelts on because you know Mr. Best can bring it, and I love his stories.
He gave us a glimpse of it
today. We did a freeway with him.
We're going to even tell you the topic. He's the dream maker, but the topic is women in network marketing. Women in network marketing.
Yeah.
He has some insights.
Interesting insights.
That he had Miss Maxine Jones and I, for one, rolling in our seats.
Yes.
He told us some absolute truth.
Oh, they were truth. Yes, they were.
So and he will.
Only in the way that Ty Best can tell it.
Absolutely. So next week, you're not gonna want to miss next week.
No,
because Mr. Ty Best has over 33 years in this network marketing environment. Yeah. And he's seen a lot. He's seen how the role of the woman in network marketing is changing.
Yes, it is.
And we're excited. But he's going to tell you some history on that. So anyway, it's going to be a treat.
As only Mr. Tyrone Best can tell it.
Now, Miss Maxine Jones, we always try to make sure we end this live stream in 40 minutes. Now, next week might be a challenge for us.
Yes, because, he is a storyteller. And we even shared that with him today. And he said something really funny. I gotta tell you this. He said, I could talk you give me one question, I could talk for 31 minutes on that one question.
And when he said that, I was like, no. Look, do you want us to email you the list of questions? And he goes, no. Why? I prefer to wing it. And I was like, oh no, we're gonna have to rein him in. Okay.
We don't want to keep you up all night.
I know. So next week will be a wonderful, wonderful Can We Chat here with Mr. Ty Best.
Yes,
and everybody, thank you so much. I think we did get to all the stories that were put in the chat bar. I'm scrolling up to see if I see any more.
Yeah, we don't want to leave anybody out.
We may have missed because this is interactive.
Yes, it is. Okay. Was that one? Okay, I think this one was like yours.
Yeah, one of them, it is kind of like mine. Brenda Mudd.
My mother paid for her burial 10 years ago, and my sister Carolyn and I took our mother to the cemetery about a month ago to make sure it was still there, and we might need to go there again. Oh, okay. Where is it? We might need to go there again. And a long stick and poke through the ground to make sure the grave. Yeah, she said with a long stick and make sure the grave is still empty.
I think it pretty much will still be empty, but you may just want to go into the office to, really talk to the administrators and everything. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been wonderful. Sometimes just hearing other people's story.
Yeah, you're not alone. We're
You're
here.
not alone.
We're here to share, to inspire, encourage,
and give a solution.
Always a solution.
And gold is just that solution.
Yes, it is.
I'm Sheila Abram. I'm signing off.
I'm Maxine Jones. Have a wonderful evening.
And we will be back next Monday for Can We Chat Here?
With Mr. Ty Best.
Mr. Ty Best. Have a wonderful evening.